Hello everyone, hope you're having a great day. My name's Vince and thank you for joining me for another episode of Secrets of the Trails. Today I'm in Confluence, Pennsylvania, ready to check out the Great Allegheny Passage segment between Confluence and Ohiopyle. This is a 10.6 mile segment of the Great Allegheny Passage that traverses right beside the Youghiogheny River. It's pretty much a straight shot between these two major trailhead towns because there really aren't any major turnoffs until we get into Ohiopyle State Park. But this segment does have some fantastic views of the river and a few interpretive signs that we'll see as we go along, because you know how I love interpretive signs. Just a quick note about this segment, you will lose cell service about halfway through the trail, but it picks back up again a couple of miles before we get into Ohiopyle itself. So if you're using a trail app, just make sure that you have everything downloaded and your music downloaded too before you hit this segment. There are a couple of parking and staging areas at Confluence, but the main marked trailhead is here, just off of State Route 281 or Robert Brown Road. This is a very large trailhead. The parking is, for the most part, gravel and unlined, but there are curbstones for parking guidance. There are only 2 marked spots for handicapped access. Also at this trailhead is a porta potty, a seating area, and a changing area, since this is also a staging area for canoe and kayak users, as well as people fishing the river. There are no water facilities here, but just up the drive from the trailhead, there's the Lucky Dog Cafe, so you can grab something to eat and drink right there during opening hours. So before we start, let's take a quick peek at the history of this first Great Allegheny Passage trailhead town, Confluence.
Confluence, Pennsylvania is a small town in Somerset County with a rich history rooted in transportation, industry, and outdoor recreation. Confluence gets its name from the meeting of 3 waterways, the Castleman River, Laurel Hill Creek, and the Youghiogheny River. It's said that young George Washington explored the region in 1754 during his days as a surveyor and noted that the 3 bodies of water appeared to resemble a turkey foot. It's probably why this area is known as the Turkey Foot Valley. The area was originally inhabited by Native American tribes who used the rivers for travel and trade. When European settlers arrived in the mid-18th century, they were drawn by the region's abundant natural resources and waterways, and the opportunity for greater settlement, farming, and transportation. During the 19th century, Confluence became an important transportation hub. The newly constructed National Road was only a few miles south, and the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad laid its tracks along the northern and eastern banks of the Castleman and Youghiogheny Rivers, both of which contributed to the town's growth. Lumber, coal, and agricultural goods were transported via rail and river, supporting the local economy. Sawmills processing vast amounts of lumber were floated down the Youghiogheny River to Pittsburgh and beyond. Small-scale industries, including grist mills and tanneries, also emerged, serving the needs of the growing population. The borough of Confluence was officially incorporated in 1873. But with all its charms, Confluence still couldn't escape the ravages of nature. A devastating flood in 1936 eventually led to the construction of the Youghiogheny Dam in the early 1940s by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The building of the dam was a transformational moment for Confluence. The resulting reservoir turned the area into an extremely popular destination for boating, fishing, and camping. In the latter half of the 20th century, the decline of the railroad and timber industries led to economic shifts. However, Confluence found new life in its burgeoning outdoor recreation and tourism activities. Today, Confluence is best known as a key stop along the Great Allegheny Passage and is widely regarded as the Gap's first major trail town, since the first completed segment of what became the Great Allegheny Passage lay between Confluence and Ohiopyle State Park. Cyclists, hikers, and other outdoor enthusiasts now flock to the town to enjoy its scenic beauty and amenities, as well as other nearby attractions such as Kentuck Knob and Falling Water, 2 of Frank Lloyd Wright's masterpieces in the area. Businesses catering to tourism, including bed and breakfasts, bike shops, and restaurants, have become central to the local economy. From its early days as a Native American crossroads to its role in transportation, industry, and recreation, Confluence has evolved while maintaining its small-town charm. Today, it thrives as a gateway to outdoor adventure, welcoming visitors who seek the beauty and history of Pennsylvania's Laurel Highlands, showcasing Confluence's moniker, where mountains touch rivers.
I hope you enjoyed taking a quick peek of the history of Confluence, so now it's time to mount up and check out the Great Allegheny Passage between Confluence and Ohiopyle. So we're going to be turning right out of the parking area. Just on the right here is where you can see the Lucky Dog Cafe. I've actually had a coffee there before and had a sandwich, I think, or 2 before there It's actually pretty nice. Now technically right here at the intersection of Robert Brown Road, there are two ways to approach the rest of this segment. I'm going to use the official version, actually making a left here onto the bridge and going down under the bridge. You can also make a right here, and just beyond there you can see Old Robert Brown Road. You can make a left and go onto the pedestrian and bike bridge that we'll see here in a minute or two, but I'm going to use the official version. The trail follows the sidewalk on the bridge going over the river, and as you can see, the joints are pretty high, so just be very careful bumping over those. Some fantastic views of the river here, and fisher person down there, hello. And another joint here, bump. Gotta love the bumps. The outflow recreation area to the left here is the way we actually go. Now, the trail actually goes to the left here, but you can see it goes down this way and it's fairly steep. So if you're not really sure of your biking skills or not really confident, you may actually want to either take this extremely slowly or walk your bike down, because that blind curve down at the bottom here, you can actually hit somebody coming the other way if you're not careful. But you actually do get a pretty decent view of the river here under the bridge. Fortunately, this area is paved, and we're going to be seeing the other parking area that I mentioned. This is another one that you can use if you don't want to park at the actual trailhead. Here is the bridge that I mentioned earlier, the pedestrian and bike bridge. So let me just go across that for a second so you can see some of the wonderful views across the river, Youghiogheny here. And a nice town map for you if you do want to explore this fantastic and very bike, hike, and fisher, how many outdoor sports can I mention, friendly town here. Fortunately, this little segment is paved until we actually get right here, and here's where we have a really weird treadway depth. Normally, the treadway on this segment is about 8 feet wide, and it's all crushed limestone, but this is about 1.5 miles, 2 mile or so segment that it goes anywhere from about 5 feet to sometimes even 4 feet. One of those little segments that I said was probably, this is actually probably about 3 feet in width, and obviously the vegetation has been trying to take over here a little bit. Again, wonderful thing on the gap, they have the mile markers where it's at mile 62, and this is probably the highest upslope that we have on this segment, but as you can see there, the sign with an eroded surface. Obviously, washout from rains can hit this little segment, so it's going to be bumpy, folks. I don't know if my GoPro's Hyper Smooth is going to be able to cancel all of it out, but we'll do what we can here. Right at the top of the hill here is an interpretive sign area, Washington at Turkey Foot, and is that an eagle? You know I love interpretive signs. And just going past these houses here, again, the treadway width narrows up here about 4 to 5 feet on average here, and a lot of vegetation here. I guess the guys are off for Labor Day. Coming up to the intersection with Ramcat Road. You'll note on this segment, for the most part, it's pretty well shaded. There are a nice amount of trees and forest along this segment of the trail. As always there, you got to look out for some obstructions along the trail. We're coming to the other intersection with Ramcat Road, and just beyond it, we're going to go past the Ramcat parking area. And this is technically the driveway into the Ramcat parking area. The Ramcat parking area here is a very large parking area technically, but some of this area, commercial staging and for outfitters, is actually reserved. So you have maybe about 25, 30 spots on this side and a little bit further down if you're actually needed, I guess. Restrooms beyond there, and on the other side of that we'll see in a second, there's a bicycle repair station. And the trail continues in between the parking area and the staging area here for the canoe users. And it's from this point that the treadway width averages about 8 to 10 feet, which is going to be its norm until we actually get into Ohiopyle State Park itself. So for the rest of this journey, it's actually just going to be a nice peaceful ride and views of the river. You can see some kayakers in the river there. And oh yes, I know, the Youghiogheny River, famous for its rapids, and you actually just wanted to see some of the rapids around here, didn't you? So okay, I'll stop for a second, and I don't think you're going to get a fantastic view of it here, but you can see through there some of the rapids. We'll get more of a view of them here as we go along. Trust me, it's this really scenic section. Across the river, if you can see on my helmet cam through the trees there is an active rail line on that side of the river. And you get a decent amount of trains come through here during the day. So who knows, maybe while we're going along this little segment, we might actually hear and see one going across. There are a couple of seating areas along here, and some of them face the river. Mind your left. Take a look at the Youghiogheny from a satellite map like Google Maps or something, like right around this section around gap mile 65 or so. There are a couple of islands in the middle of the river. This whole segment between here and Ohiopyle actually switches a little bit between Calm River and Torrent. Another one of the interpretive signs on the trail. Here's a nice deep gorge there on the left. You got some water flowing through it. And this is pretty much what this segment is. There aren't really any turnoffs, any trailhead little segments, but it's just a nice peaceful ride through the forest, seeing nature, watching the beauty of the river whenever we see it. This is just a nice peaceful ride. And what have I always said before? Better than yoga. You can see over here is one of those areas of nice and calm river before it starts turning into some rapids again. And at mile 66 here, we're about halfway to Ohiopyle. Oh, here's something to look at. Hopefully we can get a better view of it here through the trees. You can see some canoers and kayakers and big rubber boat users.
How dare you!
On the river today. This is a beautiful day for water sports that they love to engage in here in this segment, especially in Ohiopyle and Confluence. This whole section in between here. This is a fantastic place for people who are water sport enthusiasts. And right here, a little bit past mile 66, this looks like a new pavilion that they've built here. A nice little place to be able to sit and rest for a bit. This is definitely new. The last time I traversed this segment, this wasn't here, but looks really, really nice. Great spot to be able to hang out for a few minutes and rest. Nice little habitat there. And at mile 67, a little over 4 miles to go. Just noticed there are some steep drop-offs here on either side at various points along this segment, so you want to have steady hands on your handlebars. And another sign there about the Western Maryland Railroad. And for a little bit here, we're going to be pulling away from the river itself. It's about 6.5 miles in. Here's another nice little shaded pavilion area. Picnic users, covered seating area, and a path down there that people can get to the river. And it's just about here that we're going to start losing cell signal. If you haven't already lost it, you probably will in about another half of a mile. So you got to be careful about that. Right around mile marker 68 is where people start losing it. Another one of the interpretive signs on the trail. We're seeing the river again. We get nice views of some paddlers, canoers, kayakers. What do you call those things? Those things right there. What do you call those things? Rubber boats? I don't know. Rubber kayaks is what I call them. Leave me a message in the comments below if you think I'm just being silly right here. A lot of them going down there. I don't know, we might actually be able to beat them to the little set of rapids here and just see them like going down there. That might be interesting. Some rapids there now. Again, not massive rapids, but we get to the more massive rapids the closer we get to Ohiopyle. There are companies both in Ohiopyle and in Confluence, like Wilderness Voyagers and some other outfitters, that actually will rent the watercraft for people to use. And a lot of times what they'll do is they'll launch you in one spot and they'll pick you up in the other. I have never done that yet, and I probably don't want to, but that's just me. I think an e-bike is just my speed. Haha, pardon the pun. And now we're seeing some more mild white water over here. And another interpretive sign. And right about here, you can actually see it and you can hear it. We'll see more of this in the next episode when we talk about Ohiopyle, but for now, that's pretty cool. I've seen this river in various stages every time that I've ridden this area that been really, really low and have been really high from almost flooding over. But this is kind of normal. This is typical. And if I haven't mentioned before, the closer we get to Ohiopyle, the busier it gets. Mind your left. So for you riders out there, if it hasn't gone without notice, you really just have to be careful passing whenever we're this close to a major trailhead town. Again, we'll delve more into what makes Ohiopyle so special and so busy in the next episode. But you could see already what we've just gone through. I can't edit out all of it because otherwise I would have no video. We're getting closer to Ohiopyle itself and the rapids becoming a little bit more frequent in between. I guess purely from a video editing perspective, I hope nobody minds having their image when they're coming at me. I usually try to blur people out. Some more rapids. And at mile 71. Mind your left. Mind your left. And it's right about here, about the last mile or so, getting into the Ohiopyle trailhead, that you could really tell that it's coming to a major trailhead for two reasons. One, the treadway width is widened. It's about 14 feet here. And two, it's real busy. If I haven't said that already. Mind your left. So for the last little segment here, the trail actually follows beside this huge major parking area. Mind your left, please. This one segment is a staging area for the water sports outfitters. Thank you. But I have seen some cyclists and walkers use that parking lot too. And after crossing the access there, now we see the other huge parking area for this trailhead that we'll explore more in the next episode. This segment of the trail running between the parking lot and the river for a little bit until we get to the old station, which is now a huge rest area. So we've reached Ohiopyle and the end of our journey today. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this Great Allegheny Passage segment from Confluence to Ohiopyle. It's a nice, mostly shaded and very easy ride with fantastic views of the river and other nature along the way. And it's bookended by perhaps two of the most iconic trailhead towns on the Great Allegheny Passage, Confluence and here at Ohiopyle. But we'll explore this trailhead town in more detail next time. But for now, that's all the time we have. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you next time for another episode of Secrets of the Trails. Have a great ride.